Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Phil and welcome to Grounded, the series which looks at airlines of yesteryear. This episode will take a look at London City Airways, a short-lived regional airline based at London City Airport. The London Docklands, by the end of the 1970s, had become mainly run down and derelict following the end of its shipping industry. The London Docklands Development Corporation was established by the British government in 1981 to look at ways of regenerating the area. Canary Wharf was planned and the idea of a new airport was first mooted. Sunday the 27th of June 1982 would see a Bremen Airways to Havilland Dash-7 turboprop, flown by the airline's chief captain Harry Gee, land on a makeshift runway at Heron Quays at the Docklands site. Bremen had been instrumental in the idea of a new airport, and while Heron Quay itself wouldn't form part of the new airport, it proved that a short takeoff and landing, or STOL, aircraft could operate at the proposed airport. London City Airport was shortly afterwards given the go-ahead for construction, with the first aircraft landing there on the 31st of May 1987. Commercial services began on October 26th, though the airport would officially be opened by the Queen on November the 5th. The Airlines of Britain Group, a holding company for several airlines including British Midland, Loganair and Manx, decided it wanted a piece of action at the new airport. Eurocity Express was established in 1986 and would be the second airline to operate at the new airport behind Bremen. Eurocity Express would be operating the de Havilland Dash-7 turboprop, with their first two examples being delivered in March and April 1987. Both had made the long trip over from New Zealand, having originally been delivered to Newman's Airways before being sold back to de Havilland, who then leased them onto Eurocity Express. The aircraft had been painted in their new Eurocity Express livery before departing Christchurch, and I've got to admit, it was a simple but smart livery with a rather creative tail design. The livery consisted of a white upper fuselage and grey belly, separated by a single narrow blue cheat line running from nose to tail. The tail design was a stylised shirt and tie which reflected the business passenger-orientated intentions of the airlines. The tie was made to look like it was blowing in the wind, and it really was a creative design that I can't say I've seen anything similar since. On November the 5th, 1987, London City Airport was officially opened by Queen Elizabeth II. Shortly after the ceremony, Eurocity Express's first flights would depart for Paris and Brussels. On the 22nd of February 1988, Eurocity Express changed its name to London City Airways. This was done primarily to better reflect the airline's base, which would hopefully attract more overseas passengers who would now know exactly what the airline was about. I should also point out that the airline's ICAO code was LCY, in homage to the airport's own IATA three-letter identifier. They also had a rather cool call sign of STOL to reflect their short takeoff and landing background. At the same time as the name change, the airline ordered 3 brand new Dash-7s direct from de Havilland, Canada. These will be registered GBOAW, AX and AY. Those registrations had recently been released, having been pre-allocated for future Concorde deliveries, which had sadly never materialised. Unlike, say, the Boeing 737, there wasn't really much of a waiting list for deliveries, so the 3 new Dash-7s were delivered pretty quickly in April, May and June respectively. Following the arrival of Alpha Yankee in June 1988, there was the unique situation of all 5 London City Airways aircraft sharing the ramp overnight. This would only occur the one time, however, as the 2 leased ex-Newman's aircraft would leave the fleet the following morning. With the fleet of 3 Dash-7s, London City Airways would add flights to Amsterdam as well as operate a number of ad hoc flights. At the time, London City Airport was closed at weekends, so the airline would operate a number of flights from Jersey to destinations including Birmingham, Manchester and a Sunday morning flight to Southend in conjunction with Bremen Airways. The fleet would occasionally stand in for regular British Midland and Loganair aircraft as well. A 4th Dash-7 would arrive towards the end of the year. This one was second-hand, however. An Air Greenland aircraft would also operate briefly for the airline to cover for aircraft stopped for maintenance. At the time, there wasn't much of a choice in aircraft able to serve London City Airport. This was due to the short runway, but also the glide slope on the approach to the runway being incredibly steep. The Dash-7 was used by both London City Airways and Bremen. The only other aircraft option was the smaller Dornier 228, but things were about to change. On the 28th of July 1988, British Aerospace BAE 146 made a demonstration flight to the Docklands airport, proving that the British-made Whisperjet was capable of handling both the steep approach and short runway. Would London City Airways go for the jet aircraft? Unfortunately not, as the airline had been making a loss since its inception and it was decided by the parent company to close the airline down. In May 1990, GBOAZ would be leased to Bremen. Alpha X-ray would be shipped off to the National Research Council, where it was used by the British Antarctic Survey and as of 2020 is still in regular use out of Chile. The last two aircraft, Alpha Whiskey and Alpha Yankee, were transferred to British Midland and London City Airways was no more. So, what went wrong? Well, London City Airways had a good idea. However, at the time, the London Docklands redevelopment was still in its early stages. Canary Wharf didn't look like it does today as one of the largest financial centres in the world. There was also no residential developments nearby either, so the airport was heavily dependent on business traffic, which was still in its infancy at that time. Unlike Bremen Airways, London City Airways didn't have a route network away from London City Airport which could provide extra revenue to support the airline. While London City Airways started to branch out with some ad hoc work as well as operating some flights for its sister airlines, it wasn't going to drastically improve the airline's finances. The Dash-7 was a less than ideal choice. It was of course picked out of necessity, however it had 4 engines and thus more operational costs compared to a 2-engine aircraft. They could have possibly opted for the Dornier 228 instead, however I still don't believe the airline would have survived much longer simply because, like I said earlier, the airport didn't have the passenger numbers just yet. Perhaps London City Airways were ahead of their time. Later on, once the Docklands redevelopments had progressed and Canary Wharf was booming, London City Airport now had the traffic. The BAE 146 was the main aircraft of choice serving the airport, with airlines including British Airways, Swissair, Alitalia, Lufthansa and KLM amongst others. With the runway later being lengthened and the steep approach angle being reduced, it allowed a wider choice of aircraft being able to serve the inner city airport. The BAE 146 itself is now in limited service at London City, with most flights being operated by Embraer regional jets or the Airbus A220. The most notable flight, of course, is British Airways 001. The prestigious London to New York flight, once served by Concorde, now departs with an A318, and just think, it all started with a Dash-7 landing on a makeshift runway on a bit of old Dockland. Until next time, thanks for watching.